and welcome to another episode of A Talk of Opportunity. Today with me, as usual, I have Andrew.
Hi.
And myself, and we're going to talk about monsters and things from the Monster Manual.
Have you ever noticed the Cambion in the original Monster Manual?
No.
It looks fucking dumb. All right. Just want to get that out there.
So Andrew,
Yo.
we set ourselves some homework to come up with a list of our top monsters. And me, as the procrastinator of the group, did a list of my top, three, four?
Five, I think.
My top 5 monsters. That's
No,
it.
no.
Just 5 monsters.
Hold on. We said we had this idea, like we're going to talk about our favorite monsters. And originally I was like, oh, it's going to be top 3. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I like a lot of monsters. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to sort it by low level, medium level, and high level. And then I'm like, well, I don't like these monsters too. So I put my 3 least favorite monsters.
You turned in a 2-page essay.
And then I'm like, okay, Jose, and now it's your turn. Go. And you just like, wham.
Yes.
And
the underachiever in me managed to do 5 monsters.
No, that's one of those things that I realized that when you put like your monsters, I'm like, oh god, I really overthought this.
Well, the thing is that I'm looking at the document, and it's actually, this is why I like talking to you about this shit, because you actually think about it. You know what I mean? So you split it in a couple of different tiers, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna start with you.
Do you want me to explain the tiers?
No, we're just gonna go right into it.
Okay.
And we're gonna start with your top 3 low-level first encounter monsters, and go.
Okay. So when I mean low level, I mean like this is the types of monsters you would fight when you're like level 1 through like 3.
Right.
So, first of all, wait a minute. Are we not doing the beer thing now?
Oh, dude, I've been so rushed today. I didn't actually grab my beer. Do you have your beer?
Yes, I have a crowd favorite.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go get a beer real quick. Okay, so I'm back, and I have a beer, and I've never run that much before.
For a beer.
Well, in general.
Yeah, actually, I just haven't run that much at all. Period.
So since you didn't forget about the beer thing, you get to talk about your beer first while I calm down my breathing.
just breathe through your nose, man. Okay, so my beer today is a crowd favorite. It is a Hefeweizen. It is the one and only German imported grapefruit beer, the Schafferhofer.
No fucking way.
Yes.
Guess what my beer is?
A Schafferhofer.
Yes, grapefruit beer. And beer spelled as in B-I-E-R.
Yes.
We are so in sync, my brother.
Hold on. Let me look up the pronunciation, because for anyone that's actually...
I think it's just beer.
No. I mean for the actual name.
Schafferhofer?
Yeah. Schafferhofer. Oh, okay. So Schafferhofer. Okay.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you to guess what my beer was by the sound, but you already know, so here it goes.
It's a beer.
It is definitely a beer. It's unfiltered. It's grapefruit juice. It's not a grapefruit beer. It's grapefruit beer and juice. That's what makes it special.
Unfiltered Hefeweizen with grapefruit juice and natural flavored color with beta carotene.
Yeah. The reason the first time I found this beer was one time we went to Epcot, and it was one of those summer days. And if you remember Epcot, there's like no shade.
Mm-hmm.
and we were fucking dying walking. We got to the Germany pavilion. And we're like, my dad and I were like, all right, let's get a beer. And I saw the grapefruit beer, and I'm like, I'm not a big fan of grapefruit, but it looks very refreshing because I saw people drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, when it's like 105 degrees outside and you are dehydrated and hot and you can't even like walk anymore, and you take a sip of this beer in the heat, it is the best, most refreshing combination you can have at Epcot.
I really don't think there's anything better than a nice cold beer on a hot day. Because oh yeah, grapefruit beer, most definitely. Because yeah. I remember we went to Busch Gardens and they were having a food and wine festival, and even though it was like early in the year, it was like March, it was still super hot because it's Florida.
Yeah,
and we got and we got a it wasn't a grapefruit like Hefeweizen. It was actually an IPA, but it had grapefruit like rind taste to it. And oh my god, dude, in that heat, it was like manna from heaven. Like that first taste is like transcendent.
Well, I do believe that you start appreciating beer when you first have a crispy cold beer in the Florida heat. Mm-hmm. Because if you remember when we were in college back in the olden days, I was a snob and I was like, oh, why would you drink beer when you can have, a good whiskey and tequila and blah, 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 blah.
Because whiskey and tequila makes you really fucking hot.
Right? Until one day I was helping my dad clean the backyard in the usual Florida heat. And we were fucking dying. And my dad, it was just Bud Light that he had. Not like the best introduction to beer, but I think it's the most common one. And dude, at that moment, I learned why beer is what it is. Because it was so refreshing, it was so cold. Plus the memory of working alongside my dad is pretty cool too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no. No, man. So
anyways,
something to be said about that.
Yeah. So low tier.
All right. So I'm going to start back over on this because of the whole beer fiasco.
Oh, no, I'm not editing that out.
Oh, okay.
You're going to hear me breathing really hard.
This is like an hour of raw footage. All right. So, like I said before, when I say low tier, I mean like for players like level 1 through 3 kind of a thing, or for like these would probably be goons for like a higher level monster. But so I'm actually going to start from 3 and then work my way up because my number 1 is my number 1 for a reason.
Okay.
So for number 3, I have the Kuatoa, which is just in the regular monster manual. The reason why they're my number 3 is because they can be kind of played in a sort of a lighthearted way because they are fish people.
They're fish with big arms.
Yeah, they're fish with big eyes and they look dumb and stuff like that. And they worship a god named Bladopulp. I believe that's the pronunciation.
That is the best god name ever.
Bladopulp. Bladopulp, the sea mother.
Nice.
And it's one of those things. It's like you see the first Kuatoa, and it's literally just a guy with a fish head, and they're not very strong. They got a pretty low armor, 13. Low hit points, 18 hit points and whatnot, and they don't really do that much damage. It's usually like 1d8 plus 1. That's the highest they can go. They're really more threatening in a group because you have stuff like the nets and their sticky shields and whatnot. But then you turn the page and things get a bit darker because suddenly you get the Kuatoa Archpriest and the Kuatoa Whip, and then you realize, oh shit. There's a reason why these guys like kind of rule the Underdark. and like I said, things get a little bit more intense from there. Especially the Archpriest, because goodness, they have like mass cure wounds and stuff like that. Like this can make a normal battle into like a confrontation real quick. But another thing that's really cool about the Kuo-toa is that they, for whatever reason, they're the only species in the D&D lore that can imagine a god into creation. And
is that how they happen?
Yes, that is actually how Bloodolpulp happened, is that they just imagined it to happen. And so,
I wish life was like that.
So for whatever reason, like I said, for whatever reason, the Kuo-toa are the only species that can just imagine things into being. And 9 times out of 10, their gods are like, because they're stupid creatures. Like they are canonically stupid. So like usually their gods are just like a lighthouse that they came across, and they're like, oh, it's a fallen god, so they start to worship it, and then the lighthouse rises out of the ground or something like that. So it's yeah, it's really interesting, and it's always a monster I wanted to try and experience, but I haven't had the chance yet.
Well, funny enough, my first encounter with Kuo-toa was actually yesterday. No, not yesterday. Wednesday. We were playing the Out of the Abyss, and one of the NPCs that were trapped with us in jail was a Kuo-toa. But my DM played him very like very much like I want to say like the dude from the Big Lebowski.
Oh, so the actual dude.
Yeah, like dude. You know?
Like he was just really chill.
Yeah, like super chill, and like he knew his way around the Underdark, and I was like, he was describing it. I'm like, what the hell is this? And sure enough, he like showed us a picture. I'm like, oh, well, that's disgusting. All right. Well, that was my first encounter with these guys, which is funny that you're talking about as your third.
Okay, so just to give you an excerpt from the book about how they can create gods. Bloodolpulp was likely invented by a Kuo-toa that improved on a broken human statue by adding limbs and the head of a crustacean. In sudden awe of its handiwork, it then named the resulting form a god. So that's
you can do some pretty. You can do a really trippy level 1 dungeon with these guys, I think.
Well,
level
it's like
the 1 through 3 type situation.
The one thing I always see, and I want to say the Monster Manual goes too, but the one thing I always want to partner Kuo-toas with is an aboleth, because aboleths have this really fascinating lore where they were here before the gods were. And so they are constantly like wanting to take back their thrones, and who better to help them with that than things that can literally imagine gods. So yeah, I think that'd be a pretty deadly duo. Speaking of deadly,
I like the quote. They invent their own gods, the very definition of insanity. Sabal Misrim of Baranza. Menza Baranza. That's the city in
in the Underdark.
Yeah. Have I told you the definition of insanity?
Inventing your own gods.
Doing the same thing over and over again. In this case, it actually worked.
Yeah, exactly. So this is probably, like I said, this is probably one of those enemies that'd be really cool for like a DM that, you know, wants to try something weird, like kind of Lovecraftian, like a little strange, you know.
I can see it. I can totally see it.
So on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, my number 2 low level monster is the Hobgoblin. And one of the first, well, pretty much the only reason why I picked the Hobgoblin is because a lot of inexperienced players, they hear the word goblin and they're like, that's okay, we got this. You know, because goblins in D&D are lazy, cowardly, they don't like confrontation, they'll take the easiest way out. Hobgoblins are the exact fucking opposite. Hobgoblins are like, is like that troubled child that went to military school and came back like he can eat lightning and crap thunder, like kind of guy. And it's one of those things that's like I find it really hard to believe that these are actually like CR 1/2, because okay, just the regular hobgoblin, right? It's a CR 1/2, which means effectively, you know, 2 of these things can take on a level 1 party in a normal encounter. But it has an armor class of 18. Like that's rolling really high.
Yeah, and I mean, I think most of the times that I've seen the hobgoblins being used is as either like the ruler of like goblins, like a goblin cave, or like the bodyguards of like a more major character. And
yeah, so it's one of those things, like it has an armor class of 18, which for like a level 1 player, that's rolling pretty high.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it has martial advantage, which means if it's in within 5 feet of its comrade, which it should be because it has military like strategy in mind. If it's in within 5 feet of an ally, it does an extra 2d6 damage.
Jesus Christ.
Which that means one good hit can take down a wizard. Actually, it could probably take down one good hit could probably take down a fighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So I mean, if it crits on just the normal attack, you're probably already screwed. But then it gets that extra 2d6 because of the martial advantage. And this is one of these monsters that I would probably include in a setting that's more like war based and stuff like that. Because if this is like someone's first adventure, I wouldn't throw this monster. It's honestly a tad unfair. Like I might have a hobgoblin be like you said, like the leader of a group of goblins or something like that. But I wouldn't have them be the normal enemy unless the idea is supposed to be that you're like, it's a war game. And the one thing I really like about hobgoblins is that it's kind of a cold splash of water for
cocky adventurers.
Exactly. They're like, because they're like, oh, we got these. You know, it's a CR 1/2 monster. No, bitch.
Well, yeah, because you hear hobgoblin, they were like, oh, it's just a goblin. I'm like,
yeah,
yes,
no,
it's just a goblin.
Yes. So Volo's Guide further expands the hobgoblins by including the Hobgoblin Iron Shadow, which is essentially a hobgoblin ninja. These things have a really high acrobatics and stealth score, and they have spells that help them with stealthing, like Minor Illusion, Expeditious Retreat, Silent Image, and stuff like that. And plus, they can make 4 unarmed attacks.
Holy shit!
Yeah, 4. And then on top of that, it can also magically teleport within 30 feet, with like to the shadow. So it's essentially like a Way of the Shadow monk, but hobgoblins. And then on top of that, you have the Hobgoblin Devastator, which is their spellcaster, and they can. Okay, so you know how the regular Hobgoblin had the martial advantage, which gives them the extra 2d6 damage, right?
Yes.
This one gets arcane advantage, which means any spell, as long as they're within 5 feet of it, any spell does an extra 2d6 damage as well.
Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. And they have spells like Magic Missile, which always hits. So if you have a Hobgoblin Devastator next to some allies, which why wouldn't you? Because it's a ranged guy.
Yeah.
It's gonna do what? 3d4 damage plus 2d6 automatically. And
damn, that's fucking scary.
Fireball, Fly, Lightning Bolt, Ice Storm. I mean, these guys are like scary. they're like really scary to think about.
Fireball or Firebolt?
Fireball, Ball. Oh, and they also have Firebolt as well. So
wait, what CR is this?
4.
Oh, okay, so it's all right. So it's a little higher than the.
Yeah, it is a little higher. I would say this would probably be, if you're doing like a 1 through 5 campaign, this would probably be like the main villain. So, but still, even for a lower level, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So speaking of scary, that brings me to my number one low level monster, which is the gnolls. Now,
I have okay, so this is great for me because I've actually haven't because I looked at these guys in the monster manual and I was just like, oh, it's just hyenas, and I just kind of like skipped through them. So
me too.
I am listening.
I did the exact same thing. I looked down like, oh, that's cool. They're like hyena men. Okay, moving on.
Yeah,
And and it's one of those things that's like, okay, they look kind of cool. That's pretty metal. And then I just moved on. But then I read the Volo section of gnolls, and okay, so it explains that gnolls are, even though they're humanoids, they're technically demons. They're possessed by the demon lord Yanagu, which the stats are in Mordekainen's. And so they are tasked to patrol the earth and cull the weak by feasting upon them. But the thing that really gets me, the one thing that actually kind of scared me, was that the gnolls constantly suffer from eternal hunger, to the point that if they go without eating for a certain amount of time, they will turn on each other.
Oh.
And they will actually cannibalize each other, because it's like, what's it? There's actually this really awesome quote in Volos. I'm trying to find it. You can go ahead and talk.
I'm reading the Roll20 bit. And it says that they attack like a plague of locusts, which is kind of scary since they're a lot bigger.
yeah, exactly. They constantly roam the land, and they will just happen upon a village, and they will just and the thing about it is, they won't just kill them, they will eat the people that's in the village. And it's legitimately terrifying to like think about. Hold on, I'm trying to find. There's this excellent.
They paint a nice picture here that says that armor warriors that are holed up in a fortified castle will be fine, but like all the villages and towns around the castle will be set ablaze and destroyed, and people will be slaughtered and devoured. So that's terrifying.
So I found it. It's actually a chant that the gnolls tell themselves before they like go into battle or something like that, or seeking out prey. They don't go into battle; they seek out prey.
Right.
They're not noble enough for battle. But the chant is: the first gift is hunger. It is his blessing. It is our call to bring death. The second gift is death. Death proves our strength. Death purges our fears. The third gift is fear. We fear that we will fail him. We fear the onset of hunger. So the thing that really kind of screwed me up on this is that these things are driven by hunger, but also the fear of going hungry. And it's like, what the hell could possibly make these things afraid?
Yeah.
and the thing that's also really screwed up about it is that when they eat their own, the gnoll skeleton doesn't just stop moving; it gets back up, because Yanagi's like, no, you're not done.
Holy shit!
Yeah, get back up. and so that's where the gnoll witherling comes in. Which, granted, it's still pretty weak, but it's terrifying to think about.
Man, I can see this as like a small little adventure of like, oh, you're in town called by the king because the king wants to take care of some mostly barbarians, but that's wrong in D&D. Some outlaws, out of town because they've been taken on the just like a menial low level thing. But as you're talking to the king, the bells start ringing, and you go out to investigate, and all you see is just a sea of gnolls destroying everything outside of the walls as people rush into the walls.
Just a gnoll band coming into town, eating everything in their path.
Yeah. And then like the king quickly changes. It's like, well, adventurers, it seems like I need you for more and more, much more than just taking care of some outlaws.
Like, this is one of those things that's like I always imagine it can be like one of those adventures where like someone gets stolen in the middle of the night by gnolls, and you're like, and the adventurer's like, haha, we can take them. And so they track down the gnolls and they track them down their caves, and then they see the full like carnage and depravity of the gnolls, and they're like, oh my god. You know, like, geez, gnolls scare the crap out of me in the best way possible. And that's why they're my number one. Like when I read the Volo's guide, I was legitimately shocked by how dark the material was about gnolls.
Yeah, that's why I like the monster manual and the Volo's guide and the Volo's guide to monsters, because it just reading that shit gives you ideas for like homebrew and stuff.
Oh yeah. I had so many ideas for gnolls after that. It's just it legitimately completely changed my mind on gnolls. Like they stopped being like, oh haha, hyena people, to like, these are a genuine threat.
Yeah. Yeah. Because for me, like, that's what it was. It was just like, oh cool, like, you know, hyena werewolves types things, hyena lycanthropes. But nope, they're a lot more terrifying than I thought they were.
Yeah, no, these things are cursed, and they believe that their curse is actually their strength, and it's just, whew, man, there's layers.
Talking about a cult.
Oh yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. Speaking of cults, no, I'm just kidding. Anything you want to throw in there before I start just ranting on about my other monsters?
Well, you know, you have a special mention. I don't know if you want to mention that.
Oh, that's right, I do. Yeah, special mention. Mimics. I think that kind of goes without saying.
Yep. Ever since our group got attacked by a mimic in, like, I think it was like Tomb of Annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
Every time there is a chest, they are so fucking paranoid.
Just poke it. Just no. See, here's the thing. There is either the right amount of mimics is either one single mimic, or every other thing is a mimic.
Yep. and I don't think I talked about this, but do you happen to watch the episode of when I ran the Rick and Morty adventure?
No, I have not, unfortunately. Which one? Episode 1 or 2?
2.
Oh no. Okay.
No. Yes, that happened. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
So there was this room with a pedestal and a chest on top of the pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing else. And if I remember correctly, the little excerpt to read to the players said, "Oh look, it's a room with nothing in it, just a chest, you know, with treasure, because you know you guys have gone through so much. Here, have it." That's something along those lines is what it said. And of course, everybody was just like, "This is a mimic, right?" So somebody.
Wait. Huh? Can I guess real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Before you tell me what the mimic is, continue. Just stop right before you tell me what the mimic is.
So somebody has a great idea of shooting an arrow to the chest, right? And it hits. And in my head, I'm like, oh, okay. So who do you think the mimic is?
The pedestal.
Okay, hold that thought.
Okay.
Because the mimic was actually the chest, right?
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing. I was like, how would it react, right? Like, should I give it away? But I'm like, no, nothing happened. You know, I got hit with an arrow. So of course I'm like, oh, okay, it's safe. You know, let's open it. And then as they open, I'm like, oh, all of a sudden you hear this scream of pain as the chest whips out a big tongue and slashes you. So now they're fighting the mimic, right? And then they kill it because it was hurt with the arrow, right? Because I make sure that they know that the arrow actually did hurt it,
right?
And they kill it. And as soon as they kill it, they hit the ending blow, and I'm like, how do you kill it? They describe it, and I'm like, okay, yes, exactly, that happened. And as soon as that happens, a big purple mouth opens from the pedestal, and another tongue wipes at you.
Yes.
And they're like, are you serious? And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
So they managed to kill it again. And while they're fighting, Jeremy's like, what? Are the walls and the floor also a mimic? And then they kill the pedestal. And as soon as the pedestal dies, I was like, went quiet. It's like, they're like, oh, is there any treasure? And I'm like, yeah, you managed to see that the floor opens into a big mouth and another purple tongue flies and hits you for this much. And I reveal like this massive token of the size of the room. and they run out, and eventually they kill it and they get the treasure and stuff like that. But like, it was just like it was called the mimic room, and they were not kidding because it was a mimic after a mimic after a mimic. After that, they didn't trust anything. Fucking Rick and Morty. I love that adventure so much.
You just throw one in there and you let that seed of paranoia like take hold. You know what I mean?
But that's the most what's it called? Memory I have with mimics. They called it. They were like, is the floor gonna be a mimic? And then they're like, oh, we can't run away. He's like the floor, and then as they're running away, I'm like, guys, it's the floor. The floor cannot move. And like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So they eventually kill it by throwing javelins from outside. It was glorious. If you guys want to watch it, it's the highlight is actually on. Oh wait, no, I didn't do a highlight of that because it would have been a highlight for every room. But episode 2 is on YouTube and also on Facebook and our Twitch.
But that's one of those things. Is like I saw a sketch about like creative uses of mimics, and you probably seen it too. It's a fairly popular thing. But one of them was the mimic rope ladder. And it was a sketch of a guy climbing a rope ladder, and at the very top over the wall was just a mouth waiting for him to climb in.
Fucking mimics.
Oh god.
All right, well, I'm gonna throw my low level monster here.
Okay, let's hear it.
And it's low level, but it's also like just at the edge. When it's because it's the Nothic. The Nothic.
The Nothic?
Yeah.
Nothic?
Nothic.
Canothic?
No, just Nothic.
Okay.
Have you ever seen this guy?
I have seen him. However, I haven't had the chance to actually do anything with it or interact with it in any way, shape, or form.
So I've run 2 of these. The first one. So these guys are essentially mages that have been cursed by their own mistakes.
Okay.
They were, I guess, one of the sections it says it's the cursed arcanist, because some wizards that were devoting their lives to unearth the secrets of the arcane, fucked up and got turned into a Nothic, and this could happen to pretty much any wizard, really. The reason I like these guys is because they're not evil. Well, they're evil, but they're neutral. Like, they don't care. And if your players are like running through a dark dungeon, and they're like very careful and it's kind of creepy, it communicates through telepathy.
Telepathy.
So they don't know where it's coming from. It's just in their heads. And that fucking freaks them out instantly. And if they ask for like a perception to see if they see anything around, all you can describe is one big, round, greenish eye looking into their souls. Because that's all it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, they're happy if you leave them alone and give them some coin or some magical items or some potions, something for them to be entertained. But if you piss them off, they have an action called Rotting Gaze. It rots your skin. You take
what?
3d6 necrotic damage.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So they're nasty little shits. Their armor class is also level the armor class is 15, so it's not that low either. And these things can crawl through walls. I mean, on walls and ceilings. They can move really fast. They also have insight +4, and they can read minds.
Wow, that is.
Yeah, they have magical insight, and they can essentially extract knowledge from creatures. So they can like know what will like entice someone to like turn on their party, or like, so you can really mess with like a player.
And that's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a failed arcanist or arcanist or however that. So it's like a lot of these monsters already have the lore packed in like really, if you just look into a lot of these things and just kind of expand upon it, you already have an adventure there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and because these guys are so freaking curious, and I was just quickly reading through this because I forgot a couple parts. So they have the ability to extract insight, specifically magic insight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they lurk in like magical areas where there's a lot of like maybe other wizards are working, or like an evil wizard is putting experiments and stuff like that. They get attracted to that magic, and they don't care to like give you information as long as you have payment for it. And like I said, it could be coin, it could be a magical item, it could be potions or something interesting for the Noctic. That's up to you to like figure out like what the price would be. So it's a good, if your players are stuck, it's a good way to like introduce tips and like guide them the right way, and also teach them that you don't have to kill everything.
Yeah, that's honestly, I'm actually really glad you said that, because that's one of the hardest lessons for me is that I have that feeling like if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Right. No, I'm the same way. I'm like, hit it, smack it.
Yeah, it has the HP. Hit it.
Yeah,
So,
the HP is to bring it. The HP is there to bring it down. So let's do this. But like, if you do, you're gonna get a nasty burn, man. And again, because they don't see it and they have such like high wisdom and perception, usually the Noctic sees the adventurers first and he communicates telepathically. So like they can't see it, they can't attack it. So it's like a perfect moment to teach like, hey, it's a monster, he's evil, it sounds evil, but it doesn't mean that he's gonna attack you and kill you.
To me, this looks like one of those monsters where, the protagonist is stuck somewhere, but it's like a dungeon or what have you, but then they show up and they can impart some knowledge to kind of help them along their way. So it's sort of like, they're evil, but if you just humor it, it'll probably let you go.
Right, exactly. So that's one of like, it's fun to role play because you can always do whatever evil voice you want to do, and it's a way for you to communicate the players the right way of going without being like, hey guys, you're stuck here, try this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very useful monster.
Well, it's
also creepy as fuck.
And because it's inquisitive and it seeks out magic, it can kind of fit naturally into almost any situation.
Right.
Like, oh, why is a Nothic here? Because it's a Nothic. Why are you like questioning it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a column. It's column from, but a little bit more scary.
Yeah, because it's actually intelligent.
So. All right, so now let's move up to mid tier.
Mid tier, okay.
Because somebody here put the list all wrong with high tier in the level. I mean, in the middle.
Well, no, I put high tier top. No, because I originally just wanted to do low tier and high tier. And then I'm like, oh, well, then what about mid tier? I don't want to leave them out. There's like tons of monsters in between.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right. So mid tier, go for it.
Okay, so I'm not going to do the backwards down. I'm just gonna go down the list. So my number one mid tier monster, surprising Jose, absolutely not at all, is the Beholder.
What? The Beholder?
What?
I didn't see that coming.
Not at all.
Funny enough, the only time I ran an actual Beholder fight, you missed that session.
And I wasn't there. I know. And when you told me, I was legitimately bummed out. Like I was like,
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's not your fault. But
I think at that time I didn't know you like Beholders so much. Otherwise, I would have like pushed it.
Oh no, okay. So the thing about Beholders is it actually kind of works out, because it was more like I didn't want to fight the Beholder. I just wanted to see it in action, because a Beholder is not really the type of monster I would want to fight. It's more like a type of monster I would want to run.
Yeah.
because if we're going on, I want to say Volos. Yeah, if we're going on Volos, the Beholder is a monster that is so paranoid. It already has a contingency plan for when its contingency plan has failed.
Yep.
so it's one of those things where and we've talked about this before briefly, not on the podcast, but we talked about this before where I'm like, you know what, Jose, I'm just gonna make like a short adventure where all it is that you already start in the beholder's lair or like at the mouth of the beholder's lair, and you just have to work through the bullshit that he's laid out because he knows that these adventurers can do this, that, and the other, and so like this pit of spikes will drop, but it's not. But you don't fall on the spikes because he knows one of you guys has resistance to piercing damage. So he's also like lined the wall of spikes with glyphs of warding and stuff like that. But then once you land on the spikes, because he knows you guys are going to climb out of the spikes, once you land on the spikes, they teleport you somewhere else and stuff like that. And it's just the adventure is literally just getting to the boss room, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, awesome. I get to put as much like torture into a dungeon as possible. But it's one of those things like, okay, I haven't even got to the stats yet, but it's one of those things where it has the complete package. Like the beholder, it's already going to have a lair because it's paranoid. It doesn't want to be out in the public. So it's going to have its own lair. It's going to have its own minions. It doesn't trust himself to do a good enough job, kind of a thing. And
but he doesn't trust his minions fully either.
Yeah, he doesn't trust anybody, not even himself, because if a beholder dreams, it comes up with another beholder, and then those two beholders have to fight like a beta fish.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and then, oh my god, it's just the lore is insane. Like, okay, so if a beholder dreams of another beholder, that beholder that it dreamt of just happens. But if the beholder realizes it can die, not the fact that it dreams of dying, on the rare occasions that a beholder's sleeping mind drifts to places beyond eternal madness, imagining a reality in which it exists beyond death. If a beholder just imagines it can live beyond death, it becomes a death tyrant. And it's just like, this is madness. This is insanity. And I love it.
So let me ask you this. What if the minions of this specific beholder are the Kuotoa?
Oh my god. No, I don't. Oh, you know what? Okay, so my mind immediately went to, no, it's not going to trust the Kuotoa because the Kuotoa can just imagine another god. And it can't imagine a world living. It's not, the main god. Oh my god, hold on a second. I gotta write this down.
Well, because a beholder would know that these things are stupid. So I feel like a beholder would try to convince them, the Kuotoa, to make him a god.
But
you know what I mean?
But a beholder, the one thing that a beholder is paranoid. So it would probably be like, oh, these things are stupid. But what if they're just pretending to be stupid?
Yeah, you're right. No, it could be really nasty.
But that's the point.
I love beholders are actually one of my favorites too, because of all the things you've said, but also like their layers. Layers. Yeah, like it's like the layer itself is just crazy. I remember when I was running Tomb of Annihilation, the spores that form in the beholder's layer. It sprouts eyes.
Ugh.
Because the eyes are telepathically communicating with the beholder, telling it what's up. But if an adventurer just happens to like smack the eye, guess what? The eye shoots back. So like it just random shit starts to happen.
So that's just lore that we're talking about. So what if we really dive into the stats? These things are armed to the teeth.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, just oh god. Okay, so first of all, armor class 18, hit points 180. That's a lot. That is a tank.
Hit point die.
And then
19 D10s plus 76.
plus 76. It has a constitution of plus 4 people. And,
yeah.
And then on top of that, if for whatever reason it does not decide to use any of its eye rays, which it won't, but if for whatever reason it doesn't use any of its eye rays, its bite attack still does 4d6 piercing damage.
Yeah.
So it's and then the eye rays. Oh my god, the eye rays.
It's like, 3. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something because I ran one of these.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking hard to keep track of.
It really is.
But it's so much fucking fun. Somebody needs to make an app specifically to run this kind of monsters.
What,
just
a beholder?
Yeah, so like it just randomly chooses three rays and which one of your players it hits. Because trying to do that and keeping the encounter moving like at a constant pace is hard, man. I'm telling you, like it's a lot.
Like the only way I can honestly see that happening is that while the other players are doing their turn, you just roll 3 d10s and then just write down the results later.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know.
But it's so much fun though. I love it. I fucking love it. And specifically because the one time I ran it, the entrance to its lair was just a door. Like a regular sized door.
Uh-huh.
And the beholder was invisible.
Invisible.
Yeah, invisible. So they couldn't see what was inside the room. And the gate, the anti-magic field was just straight into the door. So
oh my god.
No one could do magic as they came into the room. It was brutal, man.
Like it's
also,
one of those...
also sorry to interrupt, like also like
no,
describing the attack, like the player's attack and the beholder and like the damage and how they can keep track of it, like and what's happening like physically is so much fun. It's so much freaking fun. I love it.
Well, it's just
well, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was just about to say, like, the thing about a beholder is that it keeps people on their toes.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's like, okay, first of all, it has the anti-magic cone, which let's be honest, it's bullshit.
Yep.
like let's not beat around the bush here. Like
it's also a 150-foot cone, by the way.
Yeah, it is a 150-foot cone. So essentially, if it just stares at the cleric, or even worse, if it stares at the wizard, guess what? It's just a punching bag now.
Or the wizard and the cleric. I mean, that's a big cone, dude.
Yeah, that's a huge cone. Actually, does it say how wide the cone is?
150-foot cone.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
Let me see. I want to look it up real quick.
But then on top of that, it's like, okay, imagine this is probably the first time your players have ran into, which for I think a lot of your players is the first time they ran into a ball, right?
Yeah, it was.
So there's almost always that one player. I admit I'm that one player that's always like, okay, so it can do this. All right, it can do that. Okay, his attack didn't hit, but his did. So the armor class has got to be somewhere in between there. Like, like they're kind of like dissecting the fight as it's going. So then you're like, okay, roll me a dexterity saving throw. All right, he gets petrified. I'm like, all right, so they can petrify people. And then the next turn's like, okay, roll me a dexterity saving. You take 55 necrotic damage, and that's the moment where you're like, you hear the record needle.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute. What can this thing do? And it's one of those things, like, I just imagine a fight with a beholder is probably just chaos, because it's just
it was fucking chaos, dude.
Because it's just eye beams just going everywhere, and it sounds like a lot of work, but also sounds like a lot of fun at the same time.
Another thing to keep in mind: the encounter that I ran with the beholder had a sphere. Oh, okay, I remember this. So when they enter the room, there was a floating sphere in the middle of the room with a cloth over it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the players was like, "Oh, that's probably a beholder," and I'm like, "Hey, that's metagaming. You don't know that, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Okay, well," but I was like, "Okay, it could be something along those lines, right?" So they go there and have, I think, have a couple of like, whatever. They go in. It's not moving. It's just floating there. This is a circular room, and they pull the cloth, and it was not a beholder. It was a metal sphere that was a magnet that pulled everybody that was wearing metal
Oh no!
to the magnet. And the only way to turn it off was to put the cloth over it again. And
Oh no!
as soon as they pulled the cloth and everybody started being pulled towards the center of the room, the invisible beholder starts attacking.
Oh god!
It was pure fucking chaos. One of my players pretty much spent the whole time stuck to the ball, to the magnet, and just like trying to shoot. One of them was like, "Hey, so if I shoot this way, like, what are the chances of the arrow curving and hitting the beholder?" And I was like, it's I'm gonna go with like 50-50 chance, right? If you roll this, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
They roll that like 3 times in a row. It was magical. So one of my players was just attached to the magnet and just shooting arrow because the beholder was essentially behind them. I think it was like she couldn't see the beholder, but she was just shooting arrows and hoping the arrows will hit. And the arrows were hitting. And then like my wizard was being affected by the cone, and then
Mm-hmm.
like it was just complete lucracy. Like it was just so insane. Like everything was happening. There was explosions going everywhere. At one point, I think somebody managed to hit the beholder in the eye, which caused it to blink, which allowed the wizard to cast a fireball, which hit one of the players that was under the beholder, but he didn't know it was under the beholder. So it hit the beholder, or it hit near the beholder, and I described that the explosion showed um like the shape of the beholder. Oh, it's right there. And then somebody else like started hitting it with arrows. This was before the one in the magnet. Before that one was to touch the magnet, and started marking the beholder with arrows. So now they could see it. It was amazing. It was just
That's
pure brilliance.
see, that's a situation where a bag of flour really came in handy.
Yeah, exactly. It was so hard to keep track of. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of levers, and a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts in the beholder fight. I can imagine. So, and it's just, and the thing about the scary thing. Okay, we haven't even gotten to the other, but we're probably running out on time. I've been Andrew. This is Jose. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe on. Anyways,
yeah, we're gonna have to move on. We still have a long list to go.
Welcome to the Beholder Cast, everybody. Okay. So just one last little thing, one last little caveat of the original before we move on. This thing has the wherewithal to not just TP, like, okay, not just kill the party, but just stop an adventure cold with its disintegration rate.
Yep.
Because if it kills somebody with disintegration rate, there's no coming back from that.
Yep.
Like, there's literally no coming back from that. I don't care how many diamonds you have that are worth 5,000 gold. It's like you're done. So, oh Jesus, what are we talking about?
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, other monsters. Who cares about that? Let's talk about the horror. Oh god. Okay, so moving on. Finally, moving on. My second favorite mid-tier monster is the Yuan-Ti.
Okay.
Now, I know this is kind of weird saying it's a mid-tier when there's some low-tier versions of the Yuan-Ti, but the thing about this is a lot of the reasons why I like these because of the lore that's behind them. I just think it's really neat and stuff like that. And Jose, you've experienced this because of an adventure that I ran. But there's legitimately so many Yuan-Ti, you can just have them as the enemies of the entire game.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of variety with them.
And And I don't know what it is, but there's something about the fact that they're snake men, like they're snake people, and that they've existed like since ancient times and stuff like that, and they have like a primeval god and stuff, and it's just it's so very like heavy metal.
The whole thing is that they're trying to bring the world serpent back to life, right?
They're trying to bring their god back, which it falls under one of two names. One is like Seth, which that wasn't a mispronunciation. There's like 3 S's in the name Seth. And the other one, what's the other one? Second, I can pull it. But it's like their god got reborn as another god and became this and
Dendar, the serpent knight, the night serpent. That's
yes, Dendar, Mershulk, and Seth.
Oh, hi, Seth. How are you doing? I just imagine him like a regular office named Seth.
And the thing about it is that, okay, do you remember the part in the adventure that I ran for my birthday where you okay, I haven't got to it, but thank you. Do you remember the part in the adventure that I ran for my birthday where there were people being lowered? I can say the word. There were people being lowered into a pit of snakes, and they came back looking like Yuan-Tis. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, I think it's towards the end, right?
That was yes, that was canon. That's actually how Yuan-Tis make other Yuan. They give them a legitimate snake bath.
Oh,
where they bathe them in snakes and snake venom, and then they come back Yuan-Tis.
That does not sound good or comfortable.
Like holy crap! How can you? And it's just the entire time I'm just like, fuck yeah. like reading about them, like, oh my god, these guys are so cool. Like look at the Yuan-Ti pitmaster in Volo's guide. No, he doesn't run a barbecue pit. I know. But still, the Yuan-Ti pitmaster, it has an arm made of snakes. It's a normal looking guy, but then it has an arm made of snakes. And you're just like, what?
Oh man, this thing looks nasty.
But I mean, there's so much variety and stuff like that, and then another thing too is that, okay, so you're in town and you're talking to somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, I can tell you how to get there, whatnot. Just follow me, whatnot. You follow them, and all of a sudden they just turn around and just start like stabbing you. Guess what? You just fall. You just you walk into a trap of a Yuan-Ti pureblood, which looks like a person, but they're actually a snake. But they like camouflage themselves to lure people in, and it's just these things write themselves.
Yeah, no, I love this kind of stuff, man. It's crazy. You want to suck. Your selections are terrible, except for the Beholder.
No, Yuan-Tis are fucking awesome, and that's the hill I will die on.
All right, number 3 mid tier. Come on, we gotta do this. We can't do another 2-hour episode.
All right, number 3 mid tier. Number 3 mid tier is the Sorrow Sworn, which is exclusive to Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. These guys, yes, these guys are nasty. These guys are nasty and they're terrifying.
Is this where the Death Space got their inspiration from?
I think it's actually the other way around. Because
this came from.
Yeah, because I don't know how long the Sorrow Sworn has been around for, but these things are nasty and they're terrifying to boot.
Jesus Christ.
So for anyone that's not in the know, Sorrow Sworn are essentially monsters of the Shadowfell that are personifications of negative evil. So there's one called
native what? I'm sorry, you broke again. Native what?
Sorry. Negative emotion.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's one called the angry, the hungry, the lonely, the lost. And then there's one called the wretched, which they're more like dogs. But it's like the thing about these monsters is not only are they intimidating to look at, but each one of them has like a special like gimmick that's involved with their emotion. Like for instance, the angry. If you attack the angry gets angry and it has advantage on all of its attacks until the end of its next turn. And then on top of that, it does extra psychic damage. But then like another one, like the lonely, if it's within 30 feet of company, it gains advantage. By company, I mean people. If it's within 30 feet of any creature, it gains advantage on all its attacks. Outside of that, it gets disadvantage on all its attacks because it's lonely. And it's just
that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you look specifically at the lonely, if you look, it has its attack is called Harpoon Arm. It has a reach of 60 feet.
What?
Yeah, let that sink in. 60 feet.
So you have to do a dash action to get to it before it hits you, essentially?
Yes. To get in range of it, you have to take either 2 turns or do a dash action. But then by the time you're in range of it, it has advantage on all its attacks. Like these things are
wow.
Yeah, like these things are like scary to think about. And this is something that's like, if I was to make a homebrew horror campaign, and who's to say that I'm not? If I was to make
you?
a homebrew,
Nah.
no. I like sunshine and rainbows, just like anybody else.
By the way, I'm looking at the picture of the lonely, and he looks so sad.
He looks really.
If I didn't see his arms and legs, I would gonna give him a hug. But then you see his arms and legs, and it's like, this is disgusting.
Well, that's funny because one of its attacks is called the Sorrowful Embrace. It wants a hug.
What a poor guy.
But then it will kill you. Anyways, but this is one of the things, like if I was to make a homebrew like horror campaign, like I would definitely throw at least one of these guys. I'm not going to have all of them in because a lot of these are really strong and a lot of them have a lot of health. Like the Hungry has 225 HP, which Jesus.
Yeah.
You know. But that's one of those things that's like I would probably throw this in at like the halfway point of a homebrew campaign just to kind of show, hey, you're making some progress, you know, but these things can still pack a wall up, you know, like this would probably be like a boss fight for me.
As long as you didn't put like 30 of them in one map.
No, God, no. I would probably, I think that's why they include Wretched, just so they can have, you know, because the Wretched have pack tactics, so it's advantage on attacks as long as they're within 5 feet of an ally, which is a pretty common thing.
Yeah, these things are cool though. I like these. I never seen them.
Yeah, and this is one of these things. It's like I would love to run one of these, but I would also love to fight one. Try to find a way to get around the gimmick, which, to be perfectly honest with you, some of these I don't think you can.
No, I think you have to face them like at least the one that like the 60-foot range. You have to like, I think you have to face it straight on.
Or that's just one of those things where it's just, you know, have your most armored guy up front and have your spellcaster keep lobbying spells. You know, it's just like it really forces the group to think in terms of tactics. Like, okay, there's obviously we got to work around this, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah,
those are terrifying. Like I saw them and I was like, this is Dead Space all the way.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they took inspiration from that.
Yeah, and since EA killed Death Stranding, that they didn't get sued because one of them looks really similar.
You mean Dead Space?
I mean Dead Space. Yeah.
They didn't kill Death Stranding.
No, they won't. They never will. So now for my monsters, because I think all the rest of my monsters actually fall in mid tier. You ready?
Let's hear it.
All right. Because I am a Japan culture aficionado, aka a weeb. My first monster is the Oni.
No, I'm actually right there with you. Onis are scary.
They are bomb, dude. And these can fit anywhere. I think when I ran the pirate ship adventure quest,
God.
they were perfect because this is what they do. They look at you. They look normal people. They look like normal people. They gain your trust. They are like a very helpful NPC. And deep inside, when you look at his eyes, you can tell that he's hungry for something, but you don't know what yet. But he's trustworthy until darkness descends. And then, boom, it stabs you in the back because these things can hit, and they hit hard.
They hit really hard.
At will, they can cast darkness and invisibility.
Yeah, at will.
Yeah, just like that. No rest, nothing. So that's start with that. No problem. And then like what multi-attack with just with its claws. 1d8 plus 4 times 2.
Or with its glaive. Oh god, the glaive.
Both large form and small medium.
But like in its large form, 2d10 plus 4.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. These things are bomb, dude. And you can sneak them in any adventure.
If you are gonna run an Oni, you've got to abuse the invisibility and darkness.
Oh yes.
And just completely fuck with the players. Like cast darkness, let them dispel it. Oh, it already went invisible.
Yep.
So you're like, where did it go? And then that's when the glaive comes like through your chest and stuff like that. And then on top of that, their attacks are magical and they get regeneration. Like, holy crap. These things are so scary.
I mean, magic attacks, and then they regain 10 hit points at the end of the turn. Or I'm sorry, at the start of his turn. Like, oof. I mean, come on.
Like, this is one of those things that and it's like, I don't know why. Why is the Oni so much scarier than almost every monster in the monster manual? Because it really is. Like, just look at the art, look at the stats, look at the lore that's in the monster manual. This thing is scary.
Because, yeah, dude. I love them. That's why I remember I was looking for, because you guys at the end of Tomb of Annihilation, you guys wanted to go hunt some pirates, but you guys were like level 11 at that time. So I'm like reading the adventure to like run it for you guys, and then I realized that you guys are just gonna wipe the floor with all these pirates if there isn't anything extra. So I'm like flipping through the book, like, man, what can fit into like a pirate ship, but it's not like too like, because I didn't want it to make it like a fucking kraken shows up, like I want it to be a little bit more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And I stumble upon the Oni. I'm like, oh, this looks kind of cool, like a Asian pirate theme type situation, right? And then I started reading, and I'm like, wait, this thing takes the shape of humans, and they can cast darkness and invisibility at will.
At will.
I was like, fuck yes! I put 2. Only 2. And I remember because I started the encounter, and the Onis were not just attacking the bad guys. I mean the adventurers. They were attacking the pirates as well.
Yeah, I remember specifically when the darkness popped and we heard people dying. We were like, oh no. like I immediately got that sense like, oh guys.
Because like, you guys were hunting pirates, but the pirates were doing their own thing. So I was like, this monster is just in the middle of hunting, and you guys just happen to attack the ship. That was my whole thing.
And let me tell you, this was right after we fought the main villain of Tomb of Annihilation. And you
guys were cocky.
Well, not only that, yeah, we were cocky, but that was when, because I think, I don't want to gloat, but I think I got the killing blow in the last Oni, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that was, I casted inflict wounds at the highest level because it was like legit like a fight or flight response. like I'm like, if this thing doesn't, if it doesn't kill it, we're all fucking dead. And I just like I have to nuke this thing like right now.
Yeah, man. Ever since then, I'm always like, man, the Onis are just perfect, in my opinion, for like that kind of stuff that it's unexpected, you know.
And this would be perfect for like a mid-level adventure. Like have this like don't even have enemies. Just have like the adventurers come into a town and there's like, oh, there's an Oni haunting it. And the Oni is like literally the only monster in the town. Like, this is enough.
Yeah, man. It's yeah, and they can change pretty much into any shape too. It's not just like as long as it looks as long as it looks humanoid, you can change into it.
Yeah, and so you're like, it could be literally any one of us right now. It's like this is a doppelganger like to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Like this is a doppelganger on steroids.
And just so you know, like part of the lore is that this is how they scare kids in the Forgotten Realms.
I'm sorry?
This is how they scare kids in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
like I don't know if you have the book with you, but there's a nursery rhyme. And it goes like, lock the door, blow out the light. The hungry Oni hunts the night. Hide and tremble, little one. The Oni wants to have some fun. Hear it scratching on the door. See its shadow cross the floor. The sun won't rise for quite a while. Till then beware the Oni smile.
Oh, God. And it doesn't really help that the Oni's artwork is probably one of the scariest things in the monster.
That face?
Those with eyes, dude.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yeah, dude. All right. So this is like my most favorite monster that is not like something grandiose, I guess you could say, right? On the other side of the scale, I have, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, and maybe you can help me, but it's a Kotal?
I want to say it's Coatl.
Coatl?
Let me look at it. Coatl. No, because I know its name is based off of Mesoamerican mythology.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did know that. That's my fun fact for the day.
Yay, fun fact for the day.
Star wipe. Anyways, go on talking about it. I'm going to look this up.
All right, so the Coatls, I'm going to call it Coatls. They're like this beautiful yet kind of scary serpent with feathers. And the thing that drew me to this monster was, I think, at some point in Tomb of Annihilation, it popped up. And the first thing that when I looked for the stats, it says divine caretakers. And I'm a sucker for anything that's divine, angelic, godlike, because they are both beautiful and fucking terrifying. So this thing, it is essentially meant, like, once again, I guess, man, I'm a nice DM, but it's meant for the DM to help the players along. They are essentially big old celestial-like caretakers. They're very intelligent and they have very high insight. They're really bright and beautiful, and yet a little bit scary because you're not quite sure. And they always tell the truth. But they do. The one thing is that they do hold information. They withhold information from the players, and they answer questions vaguely. So if you piss them off, it can hurt you. I mean, it has an armor class of 19. And the weapon attacks are all magical.
It not only has an armor class of 19, it has, damage immunity to just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
What is it? Let me draw one. Oh, psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons.
Yeah.
Of course, it's completely resistant to radiant damage. It has true sight, by the way, up to 120 feet, and the passive perception of 15. It speaks all languages.
This is one of those things. Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
it can detect thoughts too. Wow, at will.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is like, man, like, if the players are looking for like a very important piece of information about some demon or something that happened a long time ago, and some villagers know that at one point in history, long, long ago, people used to worship a godlike serpent in the mountains or whatever, and that's how they get there. Like this is like the moment to like give that like, oh, like the little harp angel going down type situation. But like, if you look at the art and if you present the art correctly, is that classic like, hey, yes, this is an angel, or not an angel, I'm sorry, a celestial being. But guess what? It is kind of scary in a very like, I can take you out in a minute situation.
Like, by the way, it's pronounced Kawaddle.
Coatl.
Kawaddle.
Wow.
But I always saw Kawaddles as like if the adventurers they're looking for like a divine weapon, and it's hidden deep within the catacombs of Saint. Who gives a shit? Or something like that. Like this is going to be the thing that's guarding the temple, and it's like only like the pure of heart or something like that can pass through these gates, and so you kind of. It's either like, okay, do we prove how good we are, or do we take this thing in a fight? I mean, you can. It's going to be a real uphill battle, So yeah. These things are. This is one of those things that's like good does not necessitate being nice.
Yeah.
So
so this is like essentially the total opposite of the Oni. And I love it. I mean, the art is just beautiful too.
Oh yeah, there's something about like the wing surf really like awe-inspiring. But this is also because it can change shape. I can also imagine like a Kawaddle being like a random encounter where it's like a very Fable kind of encounter, and I don't mean like the video game cool Fable, where it's like oh, it's a beggar that's asking for money.
Right.
And depending on how you treat it, it's like, oh, well, I was at skies, and it gives you a blessing to, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a healing monster too. Like if most of the spells are actually healing spells. So at a really bad moment, they can be like, hey guys, what's up? I'm the beggar that you guys saved earlier. Here's some magic.
Turns out I'm a winged serpent.
Yeah.
There's like a guitar solo somewhere in the
distance. Oh man! Right. So
this was to the listener. This podcast episode legitimately almost became an episode about snakes.
Just snakes.
Like we were gonna just talk about snakes.
I mean, my next monster is not a snake. It's actually a mind flayer.
Ooh, it's got snake for mouths though.
No, not tentacles. No. Not snake. No, it's wow, unbelievable. And I guess.
Wait, did you hear what I said?
That it has tentacles for mouth?
No, I said it has. Wait, I'm like, well, it has a snake for a mouth, and then I'm like, oh.
You got out again. Discord is not having it right now.
Never mind. Fuck it. I'm not going to say it a third time. No, I said. Well, it technically has snakes for a mouth, and then I'm like, no, that was bad.
So anyways, the reason why I like these guys is because they're essentially the Borg from Star Trek.
Yes.
That they're a hive mind. One of them sees and everybody else sees it. The elder brain is part of the whole formula here. They don't have the greatest armor class, but goddamn, try to hit them. Like these guys can make you stupid.
And not only that, these are very classic. Like it, not including mind flayers would probably be a sin.
Yeah. And I haven't been able to run an actual mind flayer, but I was gonna run a level 19 adventure that I found, and it literally started with like a big group of like 9 mind flayers floating about 150 foot in the air, into like this crazy, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a crazy tower, and there was like a big battle raging in the sky, and the flares were just like standing, not moving, but floating. Like they weren't moving physically, like their bodies. They were just standing like statues, and they were just floating into this area, and it looks so intimidating.
Ugh.
Yeah, because they can cast levitate at will, so try to hit them.
This is one of those monsters that you kind of have to do just like a tiniest bit of digging to realize their true capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have a lot of spells. They don't. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is that if you try to hit it, it's going to hit you back with its tentacles. And if you get grappled, it's going to try to eat your fucking brain. So,
yep. Legit, it's just called extract brain.
and it's what I'm sorry. that cracked me up too. and even then, even if you're not within, still do its mind blast.
Mm-hmm.
Which you get stunned for a minute. A minute. That is 10 rounds. Okay.
And the thing is also like with these guys specific. Oh, sorry. With this guy is that you're not just gonna encounter one. If you encounter one, it's probably gonna run. But you can be for damn certain that there's like 20 more. That know what you did.
It's one of those things. It's like by the time it's seen you, it's already.
Yeah.
Like it's only a matter of time before the rest of them show up. and
I like these guys because they can like legit just be. Can you imagine going into a freaking, essentially a hive of mind flayers? And remember, these guys can can control telepathically other creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So like what is it, like ogres and like actually? Oh wait, hold on. I think there's a list here. Let me troglodytes, kuotoas. Oh, there. Sorry, I was reading the wrong one. Grimlock, ogres, quaggots, troglodytes. So yeah, those can be like your minions, and when your adventures are trying to get in through.
And this is one of those monsters where, if you're the type of DM where you like your villainy to have layers, does that make sense? This is the perfect monster because you're like, okay, this guy stole this, that, and the other. We have to track him down. Okay, he's actually working for this person. This person's being mind controlled by a mind flayer, but the mind flayer actually works for this higher up mind flayer who works for the. You get what I'm saying? It's just like,
yep.
This is one of those things where it's like, how deep does this rabbit hole go?
all the way down to the elder brain, bro.
It's all the way down.
And the elder brain is fucking intimidating.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I was so happy when they included stats for the elder brain and Volos. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, it doesn't take a lot to hit it. It has an armor class of 10. Which, by the time you're around 10th level, if you're not hitting 10, what is your problem?
You're a wizard.
Yeah, well...
But it does have 210 hit points, though. So there's that.
Yes. Yeah, no, also on top of that, it is really sturdy. But then it can also... The weird thing is that it makes a psychic connection with an enemy, and then it can break that connection at will to do further damage. So
Jesus.
Yeah, so like the break connection, it says the elder brain targets a creature within 120 feet of it that has a psychic link. The elder brain breaks the creature's connection, the creature's concentration on a spell it has cast. The creature also takes 1d4 psychic damage per level of the spell. So this thing is tuned to take out spellcasters because, according to the lore, mind flayers hate spellcasters. They're psionics. They think psionics is superior. Like,
right, yeah.
So yeah, it would make sense that the higher up mind flayers are meant to take out spellcasters, and these are like the perfect enemies to throw at the cocky wizard. just let's see you cast spells when you ain't got a brain, bitch.
Yeah, no, it's pretty nuts.
Oh, I love mind flayers.
Yeah, and again, it's not just one or two; it's a whole fucking hive.
Mm-hmm. There's never just one.
Yeah,
unless it's an Alhoon. So, which that's its own thing. That's a whole separate thing altogether.
Right. But all right. So those those are pretty much all my monsters, and then have a special mention. Are you ready for the greatest monster of all?
Let's hear it.
And by monster, I feel bad calling it a monster because it's actually a blink dog.
Blink dog, blink dog,
blink dog. I want one of these. They're lawful good for starters. They can be a great companion because they fucking blink in and out of existence. Can you imagine having a doggy that's like fights by your side and it can like blink in and out of existence at will?
And it teleports, but it's technically the thing about it is it's a fae. It's not an animal. It's not a monstrosity. Right. It's a fae. Yeah. So this makes me think that this would be a really good animal that shows up if you go to the Feywild, and you're like, oh, there's puppies here. Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, magical puppies.
Yeah, it's great. Anyways, I just wanted to mention because they're pretty cute, even though the artwork looks pretty intimidating.
Yeah, the artwork's pretty terrifying, but that's like that's more of a suggestion.
Yeah, no, I just imagine like the cuddly doggies and just.
Yeah, it's a blink corgi.
They get feisty, man. All right, but that's pretty much all our monsters. But now we have to go through like 40 more of your monsters.
Oh my god,
this list is long.
It's just 3, 4. No, there's a lot.
You hear that? I drank all of my drink.
I did too. I finished mine like an hour ago.
No, I drank my beer and then I had a soda too. Because you're talking so much.
I'm sorry. I'm interested in things.
You fucking nerd.
Podcast is over.
No. All right, so let's do your 3 high level.
All right, so these are it. This is it. These are the big bads. These are, you went through 15 levels of shit to get to these guys' lair. So, all right, Jose. My number one. Okay, actually, I'm not even going to mention that yet. We're going to get to that. This is going to be a countdown because you know what my number one is. I didn't even have to put it on the document.
No, I knew exactly what it was going to be.
Yeah. So okay. So we're going to start with the number 3, which is Tarrasques.
Oh God.
Yeah. Exactly. Tarrasques, which is I wouldn't even go so far as to say it's a monster. I would say it's a dungeon. It's just a moving, walking dungeon.
What is the size of this thing?
Gargantuan. It is classified as gargantuan. Let me see what the actual size is.
Parenthesis, Titan.
Yeah, Titan. So it is known as the biggest thing in all of the monster manuals. Besides, I want to say the Astral Dreadnought is probably bigger, but it only exists on the astral plane, whereas the Tarrasque, it's just there and it's always been there. Hold on. Let me get some clear. Yes, it is a Titan. So this is one of those monsters that, first of all, it has a ridiculous amount of health. It's almost at 700 HP.
676 with 33 D20s. Is there hit die?
Yeah, plus 330 health.
Oh, only 330.
And it has a natural armor of 25.
Yeah, good luck.
So this is okay. Before we go any further, imagine, if you will, you're a group of adventurers. You're going into a town, and you're there to stop a cult that is trying to bring back the destroyer of worlds. His name is whatever. And by some happenstance, you actually fail to stop the cult, and they bring back the destroyer of worlds. Suddenly, the whole city starts shaking and starts rising up out of the ground. And then that's when you realize the Tarask is the village. They just built it on top of it.
Jesus Christ.
And that's and the thing about it is, according to the lore, that's how Tarasks are. They sleep, and when they wake up, just pray. Like just oh god, like it would have to take deities to put this thing down.
I love the actions on this thing. The actions is it starts with multi-attack. The Tarask can use its frightful presence, which it's, by the way, it's what you have to make a wisdom saving throw of 17,
which is pretty high.
Which is pretty high, and you become frightened for 1 minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, and then it makes 5 attacks. One to its bite. Which, what the fuck? I just read the bite. I actually haven't seen the stats on this thing. It's 4d12 plus 10.
Yeah, that's 1 attack.
And then if it succeeds, it's.
Oh, hold on. You're
okay. I'm getting ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hold on. You're forgetting the best part about the bite. It has a plus 19 to hit.
Oh yeah. Like
a plus 19 to hit.
I think the most AC I've seen in one of our games was actually 19. No, it was 20. It was Jeremy. He had a 20 at one point.
So even if this thing rolls a natural 1, it's gonna have enough. So it's one of those things. It's like you have to have. Okay, first of all, this is not a random encounter. If you're if you're a DM that has this as your random encounter, fuck off. Like this is something you need to tell your players. You're going to need to prepare for this fight. Like
can you even fight it though?
It has stats. If it bleeds, you can kill it. Like this is.
Does it bleed? That's a real question.
Okay, hold on. Let's go down the list. So It has, first of all, it existing is enough to cast the fear spell on somebody.
Right.
Okay, which is pretty bad. Then it gets 1 bite attack, 2 claw attacks, 1 horn attack, and 1 with its tail.
Okay, so, hold on. Let's do a game. Give me a second. I'm launching Tomb of Annihilation on roll 20 real quick, and I'm gonna put a Tarask down. I'm gonna roll those attacks.
Oh no!
I just want to see what it would be because I can't even comprehend this. Hold on. Roll 20. Roll 20. Please don't break.
It's gonna crash. No, dude. No, I don't think you understand.
Where did the token go? Oh, okay. Oh wait.
The whole level is the token.
Oh wow, the token is big, but it's not that big. Okay,
well,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so character sheet. Okay, so tell me, let's do the multi attack. So the first attack, I'm just gonna roll.
Okay, first attack is its bite.
Okay, just rolled. The multi attack, the bite did 44 piercing damage.
Okay, that's it. You're dead.
All right, what's the next attack?
It's okay. Then it makes 2 claw attacks.
All right. By the way, to hit on the claw attacks is a 24 and a 31.
Oh my god! So with disadvantage, it's
Hold on. 1 claw attack did 32. The other claw attack did 23.
Oh my god. Okay, hold on. We're not done yet.
All right, keep going.
And then it makes one horn attack.
All right, I'm doing rolling. My lowest roll was 32. And it did 25 piercing damage.
Oh my god.
All right. Does it keep going?
Yeah, and then it gets one tail attack.
All right. My tail did okay, the lowest one, which was if you roll with disadvantage because it's on the right side, the 22. But my normal roll was a 37.
Oh my god.
And it did 26 damage.
Okay, so
That's a total of 150 damage.
now hold on, you're forgetting the best part.
Yeah.
It can forego its bite attack to instead use the swallow attack.
Oh god.
Which means if the Tarrasque makes a bite attack against a large or smaller creature, it is grappling. No. The Tarrasque makes one bite attack against a large or smaller creature, it's grappling. Sorry, I've been laughing so hard, I'm like discombobulated. If the attack hits, the target takes the bite damage. So it takes the bite damage, and then it gets swallowed. While it's swallowed, the creature is blinded and restrained, has total cover against attacks and other effects outside of the Tarrasque, but takes 16 d6 acid damage.
All right, I'm doing this.
At the start of each of the Tarrasque's turn.
16 d6. That's 67 damage.
From its stomach acid.
From his stomach acid. That's a total of 217 damage. If it really didn't like you.
Yeah, so if you were in its claws, which why wouldn't you? Because it has a 30 strength. It is capped out on strength, legitimately capped out. So if you're grappling it, and for some reason it just doesn't like you, it can just turn you into paste with its one turn.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. So for our players that are listening, this is the most terrifying monster.
It has to take 60 or more damage in one turn, and then it has to make a Constitution saving throw to not throw up. But the problem with that is that it's immune to fire, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. So,
and it has a +9 to charisma, wisdom, and a +5 to intelligence. Oh my god.
So
I guess you could say it's not too perceptive. It has a 10 in perception. Passive perception, I mean.
Well, I mean, there is that. So, I mean, thank God for small things.
Holy fuck.
But this is one of those things. It's like, I would actually, if you want to get really cool with it, I would actually probably have it to be like, it grapples the adventurers like all in one claw because it's big. It can do that. Why not? It takes the entire group of adventurers and then it eats it. But instead of doing the swallow attack, it like you get swallowed by the Tarrasque, and now the dungeon is the inside of the Tarrasque.
That could be pretty cool. But check this out. Do you read the traits?
Where? Tell me.
Anytime the Tarrasque is targeted by a magic missile spell, a line spell, or a spell that requires a range attack roll a d6. On a 1 to 5, the Tarrasque is unaffected. On a 6, the Tarrasque is unaffected, and the effect is reflected back at the caster, as though it's originated from the Tarrasque, turning the caster into the target.
What?
Yeah, so it just reflects like range spells.
Oh my god! So this thing, and then it has magic resistance to saving throws, and then on top of that, it has legendary resistance.
Why does this thing exist? Oh my god!
Because the people at Wizards of the Coast wanted to make Godzilla.
Yeah, pretty much. That's. Oh man.
Like this would legitimately have to take a deity to step in and just like stop it.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, this is fucking ridiculous. But we got to move on, Andrew, because we can talk about Tarrasque Beholders forever.
Oh yeah. Okay, so number 2 on my high tier list, it's a classic monster. It's actually, it's literally in the name, chromatic dragons. And the reason why I said chromatic as opposed to metallic is because the chromatic ones, like they're evil, but like storybook evil.
Wait, I thought the chromatic dragons were the good dragons.
No, that's the metallic dragon.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're right. I'm an idiot.
No, that's okay, because it has the word chrome, so I'm like,
yeah. That's where my mind went too.
Yeah, there are some times where I'm like, wait, but it says chrome. Chrome's a metal.
All right, tell me more about the chromatic dragons, Andrew.
Okay,
this is my good night story.
So I mean, just going down the list, you have the black dragons. The black dragons are known for their excessive cruelty. So these are the ones it's like, if you really want to be mean to your players, throw a black dragon at them, because they have the frightful presence. Yeah. They have multiple attacks, but then they also have acid breath. So an ancient black dragon can do 15 d8 acid damage.
Jesus Christ.
Requiring a dexterity saving throw of 22.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. The ancient blue dragons are the I believe they're the most vain. So these are the ones that would like to have worshipers and stuff like that. And they want to have temples and altars built to them. But what's really cool about them is that they live in the desert, but they do thunder damage. Or no, sorry, lightning damage. They actually Yeah. They have lightning breath.
The main bad guy from the big bad guy, evil guy from Storm King's Thunder was one of those.
And then you have the green dragons, which these guys really like to lie. They're cunning and treacherous. So this is the kind of dragon that would be like the Grima Wormtongue. In your campaign, it's like constantly whispering to you, like, "Hey, I can do this for you. I can,
Can they shapeshift, or is that only the blue dragons?
I don't think any of the chromatic dragons can shapeshift. No, none of the chromatic stat-wise, none of the chromatic dragons can shapeshift.
Maybe it was just the Storm King's Thunder.
The metallic dragons can shapeshift, but the chromatic dragons cannot. And then you have the red dragon, which is essentially Smoke from The Hobbit. Hoards a lot of gold. Gritty. Yeah, and incredibly violent, but also a little vain. And it's also, out of all the dragons, the strongest one by far. It has the most health. It can deal the most damage because it's a red dragon. Come on,
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah, exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then you have the white dragon, which is the most animalistic one, but it likes to live in cold areas like the Arctic, or whatever the equivalent of the Arctic would be. And it has ice breath.
The spine of the world.
Yes, the spine of the world. And it's also the one with the lowest intelligence, with just a flat rate of 10.
Because it's so cold, man.
Well, no, it's also known as the most animalistic. But what's really cool is that if you look at the stats of all these dragons, you can kind of tell which one is really good at what. So, like, for instance, like the green dragon, like I said, they're cunning and smart. They have an intelligence of 20, Whereas the ice dragon, it's more animalistic and whatnot. It has a higher constitution. So you can kind of, even just by looking at the stats, you can kind of parse out which ones these things do best. But the reason why I chose them in my top 3 list is because a lot of people, they see dragons and they expect it to be like just beasts that just
Dragons,
go
yeah.
around and cause terror, kind of like in
And
Skyrim.
And destroy
But
shit.
a lot of people
Yeah.
forget these things can talk. They are intelligent. They have goals and motivations and needs and stuff like that. So
And there's
like
also like a
it
whole
wouldn't
thing
be
with like
uncommon to find a village worshiping a dragon as a god.
mhm.
You know?
There's also the whole thing between like giants and dragons. They hate each other.
Yeah. And then on top of that, exactly, they hate each other. Like all the dragons, like none of the dragons can get along.
Yeah.
So each dragon thinks they are the alpha and omega of dragon kind.
Yep.
And it's just a really cool dynamic.
Also, if I remember correctly, is it the gauntlet? Fuck, there's a faction in the Sword Coast that is dedicated to just keep dragons at bay. Fuck, I can't talk.
Keep dragons at bay.
Yeah, the Order of the Gauntlet. Those guys.
And what do they do?
They're the dragon police essentially.
They're the dragon police.
Well, I mean, they take care of like big dangers, but like they keep check on dragons, make sure that they don't get too close to like major cities. Also, Waterdeep is protected with a freaking dragon barrier, so there's that.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of really cool lore just in the Sword Coast with dragons.
Oh yeah. It's
also giants versus dragons and the whole thing too.
It's a classic monster, classic scenarios. You can always switch them up. You can always change them. You can always add some more stuff to it and make something new out of it. I mean, it's just with dragons, the possibilities are endless, and it's one of those things. It's like if you really want to have a big climactic boss fight, throw a dragon in there.
Will you say adult or elder?
Ancient. Always. If I'm gonna have
ancient dragon. Yeah, you know what? I'm so glad you knew what I mean. What I meant.
That's okay. If I'm gonna have a dragon as the final boss, I'm going all out.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like there are no half measures with these things.
And to get to the dragon, you have to go through a dungeon. Therefore, Dungeons and Dragons.
Both.
That's it. We're done for the week. We'll be back next year.
All right, we got it. Roll, pack it up, boys. We're done with this podcast.
All right, Andrew. Just because we are running low on time.
No.
I know. Shoot your number one monster and why. But I want you to do it. Sell me on it. And go.
All right. Okay, you want me to do the elevator pitch? Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Let me set up for this. I got to concentrate. My number one monster. It has to be throughout the adventure you've been on. You've been tracking down this evil mage that has broken into this magical academy and stolen components from here. He's gone into the Feywild and for some reasons taken like components from there, and he's gone to the Shadowfell and taken components from there and whatnot. And you're trying to figure, all the while you're trying to guess as you're 2 steps behind, and you're trying to gain on him. What is he doing? What's his end game? And you arrive at his lair. You arrive at his lair too late. He's already got what he wanted. He's created his phylactery. He's already drinking the concoction required, and he rises up as a undead, undying being of pure evil and arcane. My number one pick for best monsters is the Lich. Now, Jose,
yes,
you've personally heard me rant and rave about liches, but the one thing that I love so much about liches is that it's the definition of a complete package. You have liches are created by wizards or sorcerers that don't want to die because they either want to seek more power or they want to continue their research. So, or some other motivation.
There's a lot of reasons for not wanting to die, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a very it's a very human goal. Like, I we can name people right now that would be very tempted to become a lich. but on top of that is that okay, so the reason why I think it's the perfect villain or the perfect monster is because, like I said, its motivations are already laid out for you. Who it was in its past life, you can kind of fiddle with that, but it's already right there. And then on top of that, it doesn't really have the most health for a creature of that challenge rating, which is 135, but it has rejuvenation, which means if you kill it, it's not actually dead. Yep. These things have a contingency plan for everything. Like, this is the thing about a lich is that you can't be too terribly certain it won't come back.
Yep.
and if a lich was smart, what he would do is that he would bury it beneath. How far away does the phylactery have to be? It doesn't say. Okay, whatever. If he was smart,
it can be in like a different plane.
Yeah. So right there you have your quest. You're not just taking out the lich, you have to find its phylactery first, because you have to kill it with its phylactery already destroyed for it to be properly dead. Otherwise, it's going to come back. And then on top of that, even without its spells, it can do a shit ton of damage with its paralyzing touch, which does 3d6 cold damage, and then it paralyzes you for a minute if you don't make a Constitution saving throw. But
I have a question for you.
It has a bunch of spells. This thing is.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
How many of these philanthropies thingies? What do they call again?
Phylacteries?
Phylacteries. How many of these phylacteries does it have? It can have as many as it makes.
Really?
That's the answer. Yep. And I know this because Yacerorike was a lich.
So it can, and so if I was a lich, I would either go all out and have the phylactery be like in a lead box buried at the bottom of the ocean in the plane of water kind of a thing, or go the complete opposite direction and have the phylactery be just like a rock outside the dungeon that everybody overlooks.
It's too obvious and nobody. Yeah, exactly.
So, oh god, these things are awesome. Like, it's just look at it.
Dude, there's also no more intimidating spells, which, by the way, this thing has a lot of, but it has the most intimidating name spelled ever.
Power word kill.
Power word kill.
Which
I used that on one of my characters, by the way.
Which, hold on, let's bring up that spell just to really nail down how.
I have it up. It says you utter a word of power that can compel one creature you can see within range to die instantly. If the creature you choose has 100 hit points or fewer, it dies. Otherwise, the spell has no effect.
No saving throws.
No saving throws.
No uncanny dodging. If you have less than 100 health, you are fucked.
Yes, it could be 99, and down you go. And it doesn't. Yeah. It's not. There's not a range limit on it either. And the component is only vision. So all you have to do is see the creature and just be like, Avada Kedavra.
Well, it does have a range of 60 feet.
No, it doesn't. Oh, it does have a range. Dang it.
But still, 60 feet. That's a lot of room.
Yeah. Power word kill. What the fuck?
But then on top of that, it has Finger of Death, Power word stun, Globe of Invulnerability,
Disintegrate,
Disintegrate, Cloud Kill, Dominate Monster. This is one of those things that's like fighting a lich would be the session.
Yep. Oh, probably. It could easily extend into 2 sessions. The reason it didn't do it for us in Tomb of Annihilation is because that lich was not in its lair, so it couldn't do lair actions.
Oh yeah, we haven't even gotten to lair actions. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yep.
I mean, like one of the layers of actions is that a lich rolls a D8 and regains a spell slot at that level or lower. It just can't. It just you know what? I used up all my 3rd level spells. Oh, dude, hey, look, it's back.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, this is one of the things. Like if we were running an adventure and the big boss is a lich, which it might or might not be in any of my homebrew games. If the big boss was a lich and like we started at like 7, like our normal starting time, and around like 8 o'clock you guys got to the door of the lich's lair, I'd be like, well, that wraps up for this one.
Yeah. Like, but why?
Believe me, you're gonna. Yeah, no, trust me on this one.
Damn, holy shit. So the lich, one of the lair actions is the lich calls forth the spirit of creatures that died in its lair. These apparitions materialize and attack one creature that the lich can see within 60 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 18 Constitution saving throw, or take 15 D6 necrotic damage,
or half as much on a
saving throw. But 15 D6s.
So, okay. And another one is the lich targets one creature within 30 feet of it. A crackling cord of negative energy tethers the lich to the target. Whenever the lich takes damage, the target must make a Constitution saving throw of 18. On a failed save, the lich takes half damage and the target takes the remaining damage. Like, oh my God. It's just, I can't get over just how like legitimately evil the lich is. Like, yeah, a sadist wrote up the rules for these things.
Oh, by the way, I love it
so much.
The phylactery.
Liches are so awesome.
By the way, the phylactery
also has a +12 to hit with its spells.
The phylactery part, by the way, you have to be. The new body appears within 5 feet of the phylactery, so you can't really put it under the sea.
Well, that's okay. So what you would have to do is that you can put it under the sea, but it can be in a really big lead cube.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, then you can just cast Dimension Door and just pop out of there.
That's true.
You know, or plane shift. Like, I mean, come on. Like that's one of those things. Like if I really wanted to be mean, like if we were playing like competitive D&D, I'd be like, you guys will never find a phylactery.
Oh shit! Yeah, I know your favorite monsters is a lich. I know that for sure. But that's all the time and more that we have for you today. Sadly, we won't be doing session highlights because we're running into 2.5 hours here. We need to cut it. Yeah. But thank you all for listening. Remember to follow us on our social medias: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and come watch us play live every Wednesday, or almost every Wednesday, on Twitch. We're currently playing Curse of Strahd. Give us a follow and join us in the chat window. And if you like our podcast or have any comments, feel free to leave them at the iTunes or Spotify, wherever you can rate us. It always helps. And thank you for joining us and listening. And as always, keep playing, keep moving forward.
But wait, I didn't even get to my bottom 3.
No, Andrew, 2.5 hours is too much.
Wait, no.